Hi, good morning to all. Hope you all are well and doing some preparations for your exam. So today we will discuss some of the main questions, important questions related to the legal and ethical aspects of nursing. The previous videos I have already discussed some of the important content, and along with all that also we have discussed some questions. So today I thought today onwards we'll start discussing some of the main questions related to each content in the legal and ethical aspect. So if you are a person who is looking to tackle any of the comprehensive nursing exams, or you wanted to participate in any audits or in any interview, I would really recommend to listen our videos, topic discussion videos, as well as the question discussion that we are starting today. I hope we'll discuss around more than 40 questions, and those will be divided as 3 or 4 videos. So please subscribe our channel as well as press the bell button, so you will get the notification soon after I upload the videos on this nursing topics. So let us start today's first question. Well, the first question is: a nurse hears a client calling out for help, hurries down the hallway to the client's room and finds the client lying on the floor. If the nurse performs a thorough assessment, assists the client back to bed, notifies the physician of the incident, and complete an incident report, which of the following should the nurse document on the incident report? Okay, we'll read the question once more. As what we mentioned before, that we should always thorough what the question asks to us, then only we will go to the options. So in this scenario, a nurse, she get a call that the patient, she want help, and when she reached the scenario, she saw that the patient lying on the floor. Okay, and she take the patient back to the bed, and she did the assessment, and she also informed to the doctor, write the incident, and she complete all those formalities. Then they ask, which of the following should the nurse document on the incident report? Okay, here she already done the incident report, but what she's supposed to write in the incident report, that is the question. Okay, the first option is the client fell out of bed. The second one, the client climbed over the side rails. Third option, the client was found lying on the floor. And the fourth option is the client became restless and tried to get out of bed. So here they given 4 options, and when we see, we will if we are didn't find much of this, if we didn't tackle much of this type questions, we will feel that all of this could be an answer. In the scenario, first we will use the technique of elimination. Did you find any option that one you can eliminate in the first side itself? See here, there is one option we can easily eliminate. That is the fourth option. The client became restless and tried to get out of bed. The incident that in the question they mentioned that the nurse, she find the client as she lying on the floor. So the last option, do you think that we can add as a factual information in the incident report? We couldn't, we cannot. So eliminate that option. Now we have 3 more options. So out of the 3 more options, which could be a better choice in this scenario? What do you think? See, the first one, they told the client fell out of bed. Do you think that a nurse, she can assume something based on the situation that she have observed, and she can write in the incident report? She should not. As per the incident report terms and conditions, while we are writing the incident report, or while we are documenting in the incident report, nurse should document what she saw in that scenario, in that particular situation. She should not assume something, and she should not make a sentence or a statement based on her previous experience or based on her overall idea. She should not do that one. What she saw, the same one she should make as a statement, as a factual statement in the incident report. So the first option also we can remove. Then the second option is the client climbed over the side rails. Sometimes we may feel it might be this right thing, because in the question They didn't mention that whether the patient was in the bed, the side rails was up or not. So we might be think that okay, this can be right, because there is a if she fell down, if she find on the floor, there might be a chance that she climbed over the side rails. She want to go to the washroom, or she want to do something. She tried herself to out of the bed. That time she might fell down. So we may think this could be an answer, but this is wrong. We should eliminate this second option also. Then we have only one option. So do you get the idea how it's coming? See, the third option is the client was found lying on the floor. Did you see the same statement in the question? See, and finds the client lying on the floor. See, even in the question itself there is an answer. Or if you really read the question and you really understand the question, there is no need to make much overthinking, or no need to take much tension, because if you are a candidate, you person, you know what is incident report and how to raise an incident report and whom all the person should inform an incident report. If you know all these terms and contents related to incident report, it's very easy. So if you didn't know much about the incident report, just go back to the incident report topic discussion areas, and also try to update your knowledge by reading some of the authenticated books like Saunders, Kaplan, and some of the other books that you are referring. In incident report, there should be the name of the patient, diagnosis, and the medical record number, and how many days the patient has admitted in the hospital, and what time it was happened, and who all are there in that scenario. So all these things, and whom all are we informed, and what the doctor has done, did the assessment has completely done, and what is the outcome of this, everything we have to document in the incident report. And also we have to mention in nurse's note that or incident report done. So this is the certain points related to the incident report. So please try to thorough with this topic, and also practice more questions. So here the answer is the client was found lying on the floor. That is the statement the nurse should document on the incident report. Am I clear? Shall we move to next question? Okay. So the next question is, a client is brought to the emergency department by Emergency Medical Services, EMS, after being hit by a car. Okay, then the name of the client is unknown, and the client has sustained a severe head injury and multiple fractures, and now the client is unconscious. An emergency craniotomy is required. Regarding informed consent for the surgical procedure, which of the following is the best action? So I will reword the question. A client, she came to the emergency department, and she was taken by somebody because she hit by a car, and when she reached the emergency department, the doctor has done the assessment, and it's noted that the patient is unconscious right now. As per the assessment, if the client requires an emergency intervention, that is craniotomy, emergency surgery. So in this scenario, how to do or how to take an informed consent, or what is the protocol for related to informed consent in this scenario? So that is the question asked to us. Out of the options, the first option says that obtain a court order for the surgical procedure. The second option says that ask the EMS team to sign the informed consent. The third option is transport the victim to the operating room for surgery. The fourth one is call the police to identify the client and locate the family. What do you think? I hope you have some idea about the incident report. So as we mentioned before, incident report, there are certain, you have already an idea about this informed consent. As I mentioned before, informed consent has certain terms related to that. It should be a voluntary action, and the one who is giving an informed consent should be a competent and should be comprehensive, and also it should be informed. So who will inform the client all these things? The doctor or the surgeon who will do the procedure, and who all can give the or can sign the consent, or who all are the person who cannot sign the consent. So these are the situations related to the informed consent we have already studied. In the situation, first they told obtain a court order for the surgical procedure. Do you think that it is an emergency situation? It's a medical crisis situation, and the doctors or the team have to wait until the court order will get for doing the surgery? Do you think is it possible? Do you think the patient will be alive until that time? No. So we can eliminate that option. Then the next option, ask the EMS team to sign the informed consent. There is no rule which we studied like to informed consent that the EMS team or the doctor has to sign for the patient to do this particular surgery. There is no rule that one like to informed consent. So eliminate that option also. Then the another option is that call the police to identify the client and locate the family. When we read this option, we might be think it's good because in the question they said that it's the client name, we don't know, it's an unknown. The client is mentioned as unknown. So if we'll do some surgical procedure and something will happen, finally the family will come and they will make some issues to the doctor who did this procedure. Maybe we'll think and we will choose this option, but it's a wrong option. It's a wrong statement. We cannot choose this option based on the informed consent topic areas or terms. So the only one option left for us, that is the transport the victim to the operating room for surgery. Yes, this is the correct answer. Why this is the correct answer? Because in informed consent we have two special options, or we have two special situations in which a patient can directly take to the surgery or the procedure without a consent. The first one is that a patient or client arrived to the emergency department, or client end up with an issue, and the client he couldn't able to or she couldn't able to recognize what happened, or she might be unconscious and her thinking process and her thought process, everything has altered, and in that circumstances the client she couldn't give the consent. Okay, then what is if and the doctor has done the assessment and expert assessment has completed, and the intervention has to be performed as soon as possible. If the intervention hasn't taken at the right time or at the present situation, it can lead to some of the detrimental effect to the client's health, or sometimes it may lead to death of the client. So what is the good option? Definitely we can directly push the client to the operating room, or we can directly send the client for the particular procedure or surgery without consent. So this is one special situation we can perform surgery without consent. And another one option also there that is not more common, when the client waives the right to give adult informed consent. That is also a special situation, but that one we didn't see much questions related to that area. So just keep it this special situation in your mind. If you will see such a scenario in the questions, just always think that there's something related to this aspect or this special situation. So find out the answer based on that critical thinking. So we'll move to the next question. The next question, a nurse has just assisted a client back to bed after a fall. Okay, the nurse, she just assists the client back to bed after a fall occurred. Then the nurse and physician have assessed the client and have determined that the client is not injured, she is fine. After completing the incident report, the nurse implement which action next? See, read the question. Here there is a keyword that is called the nurse implement which action next. So she should do something else. So what is that she should do as a next step? That's what they ask in this situation. The client fell down and she back to bed, and doctor has done the assessment, and the initial assessment the patient is fine, there is no injury, and she completed the incident report, everything has done. So what is the next step she is supposed to take? The first option is reassess the client. The second option is conduct a staff meeting to describe the fall. The third option is document in the nurse's notes that an incident report was completed. And the fourth option is contact the nursing supervisor to update the information about fall. So based on the knowledge that you have, based on the knowledge that we have discussed previously, what do you think? Which one would be a best option in this scenario? would you able to eliminate any of the option? I think the best option we can first eliminate is that the second one, conduct a staff meeting to describe the food. Is this the right thing that she should do as a next step? No. Then what we can do in the later period, maybe after next shift or a weekend meeting, we can make all these details from all the department and we can educate the staffs how to prevent fall. So we can eliminate this step. Then the next one, document in the nurse's notes that an incident report was completed. Do you think that is something will give a good thing to the client? Or if she will take this step as the next one, did something will some benefit the patient will get from this step? I don't think. That is a part of documentation and that is very important. Even though in this scenario, we are giving priority to the client. Always we are giving priority to the client needs. So if I consider this as a next step, do you think it would be apt for the scenario? No. So eliminate that option also. Then the another option is that contact the nursing supervisor to update the information of ward. That is also would not be a right choice in this scenario as a next step, because there already she completed the incident report. So when the doctor came for doing the assessment, at that time, by that time itself already the nursing supervisor or the nurse manager, she came to know there was a fall in that particular department and this and these things happen. Already she came to know. So this is not the next step. So what is the next step? Here we have only one option, that is reassess the client. Always we should think that as an initial assessment after a fall we done and we didn't find anything wrong, the patient is fine and does not have any injury or there is no health issue, even though we should keep in our mind that a reassessment is very significant, is very important and it's mandatory. Why? Because certain signs and symptoms will not be able to find at the initial assessment. Especially for an instance, I have come across with some of the situations during my clinical experience time. One day one patient, she met with fall, and when the doctor, all the team, they have came, they done all the initial assessment and everything was fine. The patient was fine, but after around I think 6 or 8 hours, maybe on the next shift, the patient start finding some kind of dizziness and headache and some symptoms started to explain. Finally they take the patient to the CT and they found something wrong which is related to that fall. So why I mentioned this one, in certain scenarios or in certain situation, in the initial assessment when we are doing, we couldn't find the symptoms, because already in that situation the patient or the client is anxiety, and sometimes maybe she when the doctor is doing assessment, the doctor will ask, do you have any pain here, did you hit your head back to the floor or somewhere? Maybe the client said, no, it's fine, and after some time maybe she slept for an hour or she took rest, and after some time she started paining somewhere here, or after some time there might be a swelling on the right hand or something like this will started to shows. So what we have to do, what is the important thing, always we should do a reassessment, and in certain hospitals and some scenarios we will continue this reassessment like 1 hour or 2 hours, that is depends. So in this question, the appropriate answer which we can take or which implement we should take as a next step is reassess the client. That is the priority. So the question, I already mentioned that there is a keyword, what is the next action. So we should know that one and we should connect with the best option of choice. We'll move to the next question. A registered nurse arrives at work and is told to report float to the intensive care unit for the day because the ICU is understaffed and needs additional nurses to care for the clients. The nurse has never worked in the ICU. The nurse should take which action first? See here the keyword, which action first. So the question is only this much, I will revert. One day there is a understaff in there is not enough staff in the ICU department, and the nursing supervisor or the nursing in charge, she asked to another staff from the ward to just go to the ICU department and take care of the patients. We will call the term, it's called floating. Sometimes it will call pull out, and it's different in certain hospitals and certain some areas. So in the scenario, the nurse, she doesn't have any experience, clinical experience, as she works as a nurse in ICU. So itself says that she is not a competent person to work in an ICU. So even though in this particular scenario, if she go to that ICU, what is the first action she should take? The first option is call the hospital lawyer. Second one is refuse to float to the ICU. And the third option is call the nursing supervisor. And the fourth option is report to the ICU and identify tasks that can be performed. Okay, when you see the options, what do you feel? Which one could be a nice, or which one seems like a best option for this question scenario? Which one we can consider as the best action from this nurse once she reached in the ICU department? See, as per the floating, or as per the rules and regulations, or those who have already done the jurisprudence examination, you know these are some of the terms and some of the things related to the rules or the protocols on those hospitals. See, in this they say that when a nurse, she asked by her supervisor or a nurse in charge to go to another department in case of understaff or absenteeism in another department, she doesn't have the right to refuse. That is the first case. But there are certain cases, the nurse, she have a special contract, a union contract, that she will work only in that specified area and she will not work in other area. If there is some particular contract, she can refuse. Otherwise, she don't have the right to refuse. So what she's supposed to do if in this case? In this case, as per the floating protocol, she should report to that particular ICU or particular area where the staff needs, and she should approach to the team leader or the nursing supervisor, and she should find out which task or which patient could be a best option for her to take care or to assign to this particular nurse based on her level of competency, and it should be under the scope of her practice also. In this case, she no need to call the hospital or eliminate, refuse to float to the ICU. I already mentioned that she usually we don't have that right to refuse. I will not go, we shouldn't say, because we are the nurses, we should take care of the patient. Certain medical crisis will come, certain triage cases will come, and certain situations will arise. So where there is no enough staff, where there is understaffed, we have to help each other in terms of providing quality health care to the patients. We should not make any option which will compromise the patient's safety. So that one, the second option also we can eliminate. The third option is called the nursing supervisor. Already the nursing supervisor, she has received the information from the team leader on that particular ICU, or already she is the one who might arrange all these things. So that is not the next action she should take. As a first action, this nurse should report to the ICU. I mentioned already, first she should go to that particular department where he is understaffed, and she should identify the task that she can perform with her level of knowledge, with her skills, with her competency. And she should always ask help for the other staffs who already have enough experience and who has been working in that department or ICU for so long time. So if she finds something difficulty, they are the right person, should help them. So this is the right option or the right action this nurse should take in this scenario. So the option 4th is the correct answer. So how do you feel? We have discussed around 5 questions. I hope you got some idea, and moreover some of the topic areas we have reviewed. while we are discussing these questions. That's the reason I make it as a little bit elaborate explanation of each options, because it will help us to review the topic many times. When we are reviewing the topics, it will help us to remember in our mind, and also will help us to find how our knowledge on particular topic will apply in certain question scenario, or how we can eliminate these questions, or how we will choose the correct option as the first action, or as the next action, or the priority action from this particular scenario based on the knowledge what we have. Many situations the students, we have enough knowledge, we know what is that particular topic, what is it, what are the signs and symptoms, but if when we will get these options, we might get confused. Okay, this could be or that could be, we finally we end up with confusions, dilemma. So if you practice more questions on all those topics, I assure that definitely it will help you to tackle your exam. It will help you to find the right answers on the day of your exam. So all the best, prepare well, and also try to put your complete effort and watch our other videos. We'll continue the next question videos on the next videos. Bye bye.